Good afternoon and welcome to the Spirit of Motorsport as the Tales of the TT live. Happy Mad Sunday to one and all. I'm sorry we can't be there. It's a shame that Mad Sunday is not happening. However, what is Mad Sunday without the infamous purple helmets? And that is what today's special is all about. We bring to you our well-known and very, very loved purple helmets into the comfort of your own home. We've got a treat lined up for the next 2 hours, guys. We've got so much fun going to be coming your way. And we've got some special guests going to be joining us as well in the studio. How could you not love them, hey? So if you're a TT fan or beyond that even, so many of us have heard of the purple helmets. I can't even say it. I'm so excited. And some of which, and I feel very lucky enough to say this, I've grown up with them coming from the Isle of Man. And also, if you even luckier again, the great Roy Moore, who was joining us in the studio, was the first to commentate on their event. Roy, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've just been getting quite excited about that, as the helmets always say, trouser bulging excitement. But yeah, it was the first one, and dear me, when you think about it, it was down at the test centre down at Tremode, and the story is well documented. Like, I mean, if health and safety had to go down there when we were performing, or they were performing that night, I was totally oblivious to what I was letting myself in for, but we got a generator, an amplifier, a couple of speakers, and positioned ourselves somewhere safe. But the main part of the evening was to support Steve Colley, our local, who at the time was showing great promise on the World Championship trial scene and the indoor scene as well. And getting off the island costs a fortune. He had his dad managing him, and that the boys all got together. They didn't have any intention other than kind of putting on a show, but I wasn't aware that they were involved. I thought I'd just gone down to commentate on Steve Colley going over Derry's wagon, and Derry going up with T-cut where he'd put the tyre marks on it and rubbing it out and all kinds of different things. But it's a kind of well-reported story about the how they formed. They were all enduro riders, so they were used to falling off because they weren't very good. So in the enduros they were going, I think Les Jones was the man who got enduro going on the island. It was only trials and scrambles, so all these fellas came along who could ride a bit. They were all padded out and everything, but I hadn't seen them. They didn't say to me that there'll be a display on as well. So we were kind of quite safely there, commentating on Steve Colley, doing various things with going over cars and going into skips and coming out. At the time, I think it was about 1995. I'd have to, Derry will put me right on that. But yeah, the crowds just turned up, and where could you put them? Like, I mean, at the test centre, it was just, they thought there would be about 20 or 30. But it was a fabulous night, and Steve Colley did his bit. And then somebody said something about, he said, there's been a local display team formed. He said, they're like the white helmets, but they're not the white helmets. They've called themselves the purple helmets. So that's immediately set the alarm bells ringing. And then I could see this activity down the further part of the test centre with all these fellas getting stripped off and putting leathers and these massive big coats, which I hadn't seen before. And I saw one or two that I was familiar with, and I don't think Derry was involved at that time, but certainly they all had somebody directing them in whatever they do. The next thing, they were zooming past me at about, well, they weren't doing 100 miles an hour, but they were doing pretty good miles per hour. And certainly that was it. Then they put on a bit of a display for the crowd, similar, not as upgraded as they are when they developed into an act, but certainly for a bit of entertainment in between Steve Colley, and for absolutely nothing. They just put buckets round to see that they could help the lad out. And it was mind-blowing, really. And they became legends overnight.
And
Reported
legends they still are.
They are, yeah, overnight legends. So
You've
it was
been called
good.
a legend here, Roy. So Mike Assel says, Roy Moore, legend. Yeah, you are.
We got more, I suppose, 2 or 3 looking at it, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Can have his telephone number.
So remember, guys, this is an interactive experience. You can fire your questions to anyone that pops up on the screen. We've got the helmets joining us very, very soon. So please do send us your questions and we will do our very best to share them with the helmets that we've got joining us today. So without further ado, let's invite the bad boys in, shall we? We've got the Helmet TT Village, the great Derry. Welcome, Derry. Happy Mad Sunday to you.
Oh, every Mad Sunday is a happy day and fantastic. Good to see you, Roy, and the beautiful Hailey. It's very pretty, Hailey. I do like the cut of your jib if I was a nautical person. More naughty than nautical, I think. But yeah, Roy was great in the early days, and the show kicked off in 1995, and it was all because of the Southern Motorcycle Club, and we didn't have any money, and we'd sponsored Steve Colley quite a bit, and Steve and Brian. Hi, Steve. Hi, Brian. If you're watching, I'm sure a lot of people are. There could be over half a dozen apparently tuned in, but yeah, it was to raise a bit of money, and Roy was an aficionado, obviously, on Steve Colley's progress and his young days on the bike and nesting on the Wirral and junior kickstart. The boy was a phenomenon, really. And so who else put Roy Moore to commentate, you see? So we set this show up, and it was quite amazing, really, because the venue that we chose, rather than it being an amphitheatre, the ground sloped away from the.
It was a Manx amphitheatre. It went the other way.
It was convex instead of concave. Nobody could see, which was probably better in the early days. But the shows kicked off very well, and I could never claim to have started the Purple Helmets, but it was actually me who got them into show business, because I'd said to some of the lads at the time, there was Steve Collins and the Brigazzi boys and one or two others, and they were larking about with the big coats on. They were the sheep skull enduro riders, very well known in the enduro circles in England with the British Championships and whatever. And they had lots of mates across, Michael Alty and the boys who were in enduro scenes. So they used to meet up with them when they went away, and well, this thing started to grow. Anyway, the first night there was just eight Purple Helmets, and the reason is, Roy touched on it before, they weren't quite the white helmets. They weren't. And somebody said, well, we've never done a show before. What would we call ourselves? So some bright spark said, well, we're not the white helmets, but more like the Purple Helmets. Bunch of tossers, you see. So it stuck. And then somebody else said, well, the world famous Purple Helmets, because nobody's ever heard of us. And it was a tongue-in-cheek experience where they wore the dark glasses to give the impression of a cool dude. And, you know, it was the way to be at the time. And so the world famous Purple Helmets got into show business, and it was quite amazing that the impact on that first night, and Roy will bear me out on this, everybody's bottom lip, their jaws dropped, and they thought, what's this? As these 8 guys came into view with these tropal coats, army coats on little Honda 90s in perfect formation, and proceeded to do their stunts. Well, it was an overnight success. It just was, and we decided after that we needed a bigger venue. Obviously, the venue was hopeless. It was just ridiculous because nobody could see. So I suppose then we got Onken Stadium, and Roy moved on up to Onken Stadium with us. But in his own words, he really was the Steve Colley man, and it came about that he handed it over to me because he had a call to go to the TT. Up to then, he'd been just commentating on the Manx Grand Prix, I think, Roy. That's right, isn't it? And,
yeah, we've done a few Manxes and all that, but it worked out that you did it on the Sunday, which was the Mad Sunday, wasn't it? The big one, and packed down Onken out. But we were a bit limited because we were only using the speaker system from the stock cars. And if you want to get intimate with the helmets, well, then you've got to get mobile, and obviously you've got to be in amongst them, like
you've got to be on the ground. Well, this vantage point that we had, I remember in the stadium with Roy, and you couldn't actually see the far side of the stadium from where we sat, because the roof of the stadium came down too low. So it was absolutely hopeless vantage point. And anyway, as luck would have it, Fred Clark, I think, dropped out of the commentary team, and Roy was called up for the TT. And he's been there ever since. And a damn fine job he does too. And we're good old mates going way back to school days, aren't we, Roy?
Certainly are. Remember the man coming in from Crosby on the train, you said?
I went to school on the steam train.
Yeah, not many can say that.
Not many.
Derry, I've got a couple of questions here for you, if that's okay. Can I fire them at you?
You can try, Hailey. I think you're looking very nice tonight.
Stop it.
Hey, calm down, Derry. Calm down. You simply just remember what age you are.
27.
Looking good.
Go ahead, Hailey.
All right, so we've got how do you become, Leslie Santos, how do you become one of your brolly dollies? Where do we start?
You'd have to be interviewed on a personal basis.
You need a photograph first.
Well, you'd probably need more than a photograph, and there'd be 2 or 3 of us there to just check you out, that sort of thing. And you'd have to be of a personable nature, and well, you'd have to be nice and pretty, and you'd have to like Oakles Ale and Bushies.
Oh wow, I'm in. They're my favourite.
Can I just show you here? Here's the Bushies here today.
Nice.
And if you're applying writing, we'll see what we can do. And thank you for your question.
There you go, Leslie. I hope that helps. She also asks, have you ever gone more than 100 miles an hour?
Have we ever what?
Gone more than 100 miles per hour?
Not in one night. We have done You're getting a bit personal now, Hailey, but you'd need a private sitting to get the answer to that.
Okay, we'll come back to that one.
We'll come back to you later, darling. Thank you for your question.
Brilliant. Thank you, Derry. So we're going to invite, apparently we've got another guest, have we? Have we got someone else to join us?
Who have we got?
Oh, my goodness me. Dear me.
It's Jelly. He's an old purple helmet himself.
Charlie. Calling Charlie. Can you hear me, Charlie? Over.
He's breaking up a bit, but I believe he's from Cockermouth, which is quite apt.
Hey, be nice. Yeah, nice.
We are nice. Have you anything to say, Jelly?
Well, yeah. It's
you're breaking up a bit there. He's gone, but I'm joined now by a fellow helmet who you may well know. He's Jeff Henthorne, Jeff the Stud, we call him. He's actually drinking cider, so he's a bit of a lightweight, actually. But because I've drunk all those bushes.
All the bushes that I brought with me.
But anyway, enough of that trivia. Jeff, thank you for your intervention. We have a small team here today of the helmets, and they've been practicing outside. Social distancing, I must admit. But they have practiced a bit, and they'll do a little show for you around 4:30, if that's acceptable. I'd just like to say, just before I go on anymore, I'm getting a bit emotional, Hailey, because I looked on Facebook and places, and I've been quite touched with the kind comments and genuine comments that people have put on over the years, and I really was quite touched the other night, because I didn't realize how much the purple helmets were admired and loved especially. I mean, love's nice, isn't it? And if one feels loved, it's half the battle, isn't it, really? But enough of that. we've got sorry,
You've changed a bit since I last saw you.
have I?
Yeah. I think you must have had an injection or something, have you? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that'll be it. I'm drinking coffee.
Oh, well, it serves you right. But fair trade. Fair trade.
That'll be it.
We've got a small but select gathering here this afternoon, and it's lovely to see them. Although we haven't been able to get intimate until next week, because when Howard Quayle says it's okay, we can hug each other again. I might not hug you, Roy, but I can think of one or two people round about that I might hug. But this is a good idea, I think, on a Sunday afternoon, mad Sunday afternoon. The helmets have never let people down on a mad Sunday afternoon. It's a big, big part of the TT.
You'd have a struggle getting through the railway hotel at the moment, wouldn't you? You have to break the door down.
Well, it's very, very sad on a couple of counts, actually, because
guys, joining
very
you,
good old mate.
Joining you from the production team. Hailey's having a little bit of audio problems, so what I'm going to do is we're going to deal with that in the back. Pop a few questions on the screen, guys. Yeah, so I'll pop them up on the screen. Check them out, and we'll be back with you in a moment. Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Okie dokie. How much preparation goes into your bikes, Derry? Are they easy to build? And I remember when you had the fire down at Bolthane there, it caused hundreds of pounds worth of improvements. I can remember that getting reported in the paper, and that they reckon they were better after the fire than they were before the fire.
They were. We rescued some of the stuff, and it was a big fire. It was it melted a few things, and they looked better afterwards. And I think that's way back. I can't remember just when now, but we pulled it all together and carried on with the show as ever at Onken Stadium. And as you say, there was hundreds of pounds worth of improvements.
When did the bus come into the equation? Because obviously you did the ones up at Onken, but you didn't need a bus to get to Onken. But then a great idea came up that you would tour the world in a yellow like Cliff Richard and Summer Holiday, but that was Purple Holiday.
It was a wonderful era. It was an ex-Douglas Corporation AEC Regent. If for those of you who are vehicle-minded, it was a Regent 5 8123 MN. It was one of the batch of Regents, and they took. So Jimmy's just come in and he says it's very, very interesting, but it was interesting because the old bus, we ran it for many years, and it was so much fun. We went all over the place in it locally, but the lads actually cut the roof off it and lowered it to go to Poland. Now, to take a double-decker bus to Poland with all the lads on board, it was quite something at the time, and they refurbished the bus, cut the roof off. Jimmy's just joining me now.
Jimmy, hi, Jimmy.
Been to the doctor, Jim? I just got back, Jim.
Well, the doctor said to me, "Will you drop your trousers?" And I said, "Yes." He dropped my trousers. He said, "Wow," he said, "your genitalia is shaped like a saxophone." So I said, "All right." I said, "What's the family trait?" I said, "All my brothers and sisters have got genitalia shaped like musical instruments."
Really?
And the doctor said, "In 27 years," he said, "I've never seen anybody except a woman came in once and her genitalia was shaped like a mouth organ." And I turned around to the doctor and said, "Yeah, that was harmonica."
The old ones are the best, Jim. Yeah, it's quite apt actually, because we have got an harmonica player. Ooh, let's see.
You've got a piano player as well.
We've got a pianist. We've got a harmonica player, but not just yet. We just touched on the subject of the bus there, which was a wonderful thing, really. After it had been to Poland, we went all over the place, and we went to a charity thing at Alton Park. I think it was our first trip off island for a show, and it was for Make-A-Wish charity for disabled kids to go to America. And there's this beautiful girl called Heidi who ran this show with, I think Charlie Williams had a hand in running it, Jimmy, didn't he? And we were booked into a very posh place in Knutsford called Cotton's Hotel. Well, outside,
top of the range.
Yeah,
top of the range, wasn't it?
It really was top of the pack. And outside there was an avenue of flowering cherry trees, but they weren't quite as high as the bus. I remember as we drove down the drive, we snapped all the branches off the cherry trees with the double-decker bus. So that was the first thing, the first foot we put wrong at Cotton's. And meanwhile, there was a wedding taking place there, Jimmy, wasn't there? There was a wedding on at Cotton's at that time, and we totally disrupted the wedding, but they seemed to like it because they put a notice outside and said that what did it say, Jim? That the management wanted to apologise to the bride and groom, that the purple helmets were there, and
world
they
famous.
eventually they're world famous. Well done, Roy. They said that for any inconvenience, but they thoroughly enjoyed it, and they actually came to dance with us later on. So it was very good.
Another incident. Our guys had a few drinks, and they were carrying him in, and they decided that they couldn't carry him any longer. So there was a nice Persian carpet, wasn't in the hallway, and so they rolled him off. They rolled him off and carried him in this Persian carpet.
Yeah, that was the first time I met Andy Robinson, and he's a great guy he's one of the helmets from near Carnforth, and he has actually driven on many occasions out all over Europe with his truck. He takes all the lads to Sardinia, Germany, wherever the lads have been. Robbo has driven Portugal last year. I mean, this thing grew out of all proportion with the purple helmets, because the words world famous really ring in my ears, because they are actually very famous throughout the world. In fact, Jimmy could probably rattle off some of the places we have been. I know we've been Italy, Spain, France, Germany, all over Europe.
Meanwhile, though, Derry, that the person that you did the fundraising for originally, Steve Colley, his career blossomed, didn't he, on the world championship scene? He was a contender.
Yeah.
And indoor arena trials came along, and he was up there amongst them as well.
Yeah.
And like the world famous purple helmets, Steve Colley and David Knight, recently, have put the Isle of Man, the small Isle of Man, on the world map on
the world stage. Yeah.
And the ability to do it has been terrific. And it's from small beginnings at the test centre, and then of course when you were raising money, you had too much then with all the money that was getting thrown at you at the Yonkin Park, and somebody decided, and as Manx people do, buy a bit of land. Yes, are out in the country.
Yeah, we bought 112 acres of land for the Southern Motorcycle Club, which has benefited that immensely. And and we've given money to charity over the years, and we enjoy what we do, and I think it shows, because if the guys are happy with what they do, the show is funny. It is, Jimmy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a funny thing. I'm not supposed to laugh. Nobody's really supposed to laugh, because they're
serious.
Well, they're cool. They're serious, cool dudes.
Yeah.
They take it very professionally, but I've seen it more times probably than anybody, and I can't stop laughing. Maybe it's just in my manner. I don't know, but it's just very funny, and no two shows have ever been the same. You couldn't repeat it if you tried. Is that right, Jim?
Well,
Jim,
you've had some fantastic venues.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Jim, getting a few comments. The audience can't hear you, mate. So if you just sit round a little bit when you're having a discussion, and everyone can hear you better.
Okay, mate. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, come a bit closer. Yeah, all good. Cheers.
Right.
Yeah, a bit better. Lean in,
We've
mate.
got a little show planned today. Only a very small show, because we could only get
You're talking.
six of our guys turned up. That's all we're allowed, because the social distancing thing, genuinely. So we're just throwing something together today, just for, just so we can do something. But it's wouldn't be one of our best shows, but we'll do our best and see what we can do. So we'll be on in about 5 minutes. Boys are just getting nicely loosened up out there, aren't they, Derry?
Yeah, they're loosening their bowels as we speak.
Is Hailey back with us?
Oh,
is Hailey
lovely?
back?
Isn't she lovely? Oh, Hailey.
She has got a certain attraction, Derry. Now that you've mentioned it, I hadn't noticed before.
Beautiful.
Being off a certain age, but now when you mention it, she is, quite attractive. But you can't hear her.
I think she just said, "Stop it." I can
sounds something like that.
It sounds like a perfect woman to me. You can see her, looks all right, but you can't hear her.
Yeah, all vision, no sound.
Well,
and that will be it.
I think our Monica's turned up.
Has he? Oh, that's it.
If this is our Monica, and this was the theme.
I'm going to get the boys fired up.
Get the boys fired up now, Jim. I'll just play you in here, because there's going to be a little show in a minute. But our theme tune for quite some time has been "Oh Susanna." I don't know why, but it's the only thing I can play. So I'll play it a little. I'll play it slowly, and then I'll play it fast. But I don't even know how I can play it. But while the boys fire the bikes up, we'll do a little bit more. But I think really, Jim, Roy, we have so much history together, and with the Isle of Man and the TT, we did sidecar trials together. We go way back. We went to different schools together.
Yeah, different schools together. That's another beauty in it together. Typical Manx statement. Me and him. Yeah, Lofty Harding caught me out with that one for the first time. See that fella over there? Me and him went to different schools together. Yeah. Like saying, if I wasn't here, I'd be somewhere else.
Just to touch on back to the railway, it's a bit of very sad news. A lot of people won't know this, but our host, Ray Corkle, has died. And he was a very big part of the railway pub at Union Mills. He really was. He was a great guy. He sat by me at school, actually, and it was him that invited us into the railway pub. And for many years, we've ridden up the steps, through the door with lots of damage, through the pub and out into the back garden, where Ray would give us a pint of beer. And I think really we're all going to miss him a lot. Yeah. It was just something else. And I talked to Celia the other day. Celia Morgan was his partner in the pub. And she said to me, Ray just loved the damage. That's how he was. He used to show people that we'd taken gouges out of the door with the handlebars and burnt the new carpet. And he used to say to people, look at that. That was the purple helmets. He was very proud.
You did a lot of damage out at another venue, though, before that, out at the Farmer's Arms. Well, this hooligan's back again here now. Look at that. Fancy on a Sunday afternoon being confronted by that on front of a television set. I'd be far rather watching Coronation Street.
Yeah, but we are the champions of the pub donut.
Surprise. The champions of surprise. Is he back with us now, Mr. Jelly?
Oh, yes. Back in from sunny Cockermouth.
Mr. Jelly has just wobbled back onto your screens. He's got Carmen's bra here.
Good afternoon. It's Broadsword calling Charlie. Come in, Charlie. We had a few communication errors.
Yeah. Back to normal now, though, yes, sir?
Oh, I think so. I think so.
Absolutely.
Back to normal.
Derry, can you make sure some of the boys do some skid marks in your kitchen?
The boys are not in the kitchen. This is my house, not the railway. The boys are lined up now. They're ready. I think they're ready for a stunt. I'll do a few bars of Oh Susanna. I'll shut the lid and then over to the boys.
That'll do.
How's that? Here they go now. I will shut the lid and hand you over to the first show this afternoon. And we promise you a shite show. And that's exactly what you're going to get.
So what are we got to do? Derry's the commentator, the normal commentator is gone. He's just left us. He's disappeared. So it must be some technical stuff up at Ballakizzick this afternoon. I hope his neighbours don't object to all the noise that's going on around there. But certainly, how are they going to do this? Are they going to now put that on the screen? You're not involved in this, are you, sir?
No. I think they're just going to cut through to a little stunt show for the boys.
Here we go.
House. I think we're waiting for the stunt cam.
There we go. Stunt cam is on. So sit back and enjoy. Live from Ballakizzick on Mad Sunday in 2020. It's legendary because there's no TT, but the purple helmets have not let us down. Enjoy a little bit of display on Derry's lawn at Ballakizzick. Over to you, boys. Like the red arrows, they warm up slowly with doing a bit of intercrossing. I can remember that from Onken Stadium. Honda 90s are sounding good there, on the stunt cam is working well, is that? So a little bit of interaction going between. I don't think it's going to be too complicated this afternoon. There's not going to be any of the piano appearing or anything like that. But there's a few grooves getting cut there in the old grass, and they disappear right. But what they'll appear back with will be anybody's thinking. We can hear them. We can't as yet see them, but there they are now. Just doing the open arms, no hands. Luke Marr, no hands, as they go across Derry's lawn, and certainly turning round and coming back now. So it's good. Who'd have thought all those years ago in 1995 that we'd have been sat here on a Mad Sunday with no TT watching the boys with all that success behind them, and none more so than Steve Colley as well. Would you believe His Royal Highness Prince Edward was part of the display team up there at Government House, sat on one of the bikes with the big coats on and the glasses, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And displays up at Government House are plenty by the Purple Helmets display team. In fact, Sir Ian McFadden, who was the governor, was so kind of awed by their performances that the Purple Helmets gave him a complete escort when he left the island in September. I'm not sure of the year. Derry will be more over on that. But the stunt cam is working well, and certainly they're going out of sight and then coming back again. But yeah, His Royal Highness Prince Edward sat with the boys up there. We put a photograph on a group site before there about it. And were you part of that, Mr. Jelly?
I'm afraid I wasn't there. It was actually Prince William to put you right on that, Roy.
Well, we always make mistakes.
But no, absolutely, the content was correct, and the boys were told by the royal helpers not to touch the prince, and it didn't take long before the prince had the helmet on, the jacket on, and a beer in his hand, enjoying it with us. In fact, they actually bought a silver platter full of beer out for the boys. I wasn't actually at that one, I'm afraid, but yeah, the boys. There's some pictures of them in the pub in Douglas there, yeah.
What are they doing now? You describe it, because you're a kind of a seasoned campaigner on this. There seem to be a lot of fellas trying to hang themselves off the back of bikes. Is that a graphic description? Hello there.
The naked man just appeared. Yes.
There's a bit of nudity
Yes,
at Balakizzik. God, we can't have that.
Yeah,
This
there's
is
a bit of nudity, and it's not just dairy this time.
It'll be like George Formby's landlady said, take yourself away. We don't want any sand singers here. This is a respectable household. This is a respectable website. And look at that, naked men going across the screen. What'll Hailey think of that?
Well,
2 naked men now, is it? Oh no, just the one.
Yeah, all at speeds approaching 100 miles an hour, obviously.
Certainly is. I think I recognise that nude figure as the piano man. I think he has got a bit of an obsession about showing himself up. Stunt cam, so there you go. Are you watching this, Hailey? You seem to have problems with your sound, Hailey. Is that right? So the boys are lining up now. If you can hear me, well, we're just kind of stepping in as we normally do to kind of do it. It's like going back to 1995 down there at the test centre. I hope, yeah. Oh my God. And oh no. Yes, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 helmets have now completed their little show up there at Balakizzik and Onken. And certainly I'm sure that the lid will be raised again as the C90s are getting taken away to one side. We've lost everybody off the screen. I'm just looking at myself here and talking to myself, and there's only me here now again. I think if you're on the back there's a photograph off the board, such as the kind of esteem in which the helmets are held, that TT Week wouldn't be the same without them. And to do them justice, somebody did ask a question early on, when would the next time that the boys would be back together in a kind of an official show? Any breaking news on that, Mr. Jelly?
No, I think we're obviously responding to the government outlines. I'm in the UK, but I'm speaking to the boys on a regular basis about what's happening in the Isle of Man. But we're hoping to make the RNLI fundraising event. But we're waiting literally to hear. I'm sure Derry will be able to fill you in a bit more about that.
He'll be up on the thing on that, was about what's going on with it. It is a bit of a traumatic time. Well done, Mr. Commentator. You didn't say a word. You shut the lid, bug it off, and let the boys rip your lawn up, and then there's a naked man appears. Hailey's fainted. Hailey has fainted. We can't get her back. She comes back, she mimes a bit, and then she disappears again. So, but she'll come back now that you're here.
Technical hitch. I'm sure she'll come back to see me. Here she is now.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, she is.
She's back in the room.
3 to 1 back in the room.
Yeah.
Hi guys, sorry. Just teasing you a little bit.
When I was off air there, Roy, just to call it nature, did I hear you mention Prince William?
Well, I mentioned a prince, but it was the wrong fella.
Oh.
Probably should have had Prince Harry, and he brought that woman that he's got with him, and that would have sorted the job out. The helmets would have sorted her out, no problem.
Easy now.
Just on that thing, I'll just touch on it briefly. But at Government House, I used to do a bit of work up there with the digger. And when Ian McFadden became the governor, he came over one day, and an absolute gentleman. He said to me, would the Purple Helmets like to do a show at Government House? And I said, well, I'm not sure if Government House is quite ready for the Purple Helmets. I said, you do realise what we do? And he said, oh, yes. He said, I have some friends that were in the Gulf War with me, because he was the commander of air forces in the Gulf War, Ian McFadden. So he got the Navy man and the Army man, and de Villiers, he was there. All these guys came up to Government House, and we put on a show for them. And it was really, well, I won't swear, but it was really very good. And following that, it became a regular fixture at Government House. And Prince William was on a visit to the Isle of Man, and we did a little show for him. And he laughed so much that he wanted a photograph with us. And I've actually got the photograph here. I don't know if it'll come over all right. I'll show you in a second or two. But at the end of it, when he was in this photograph, I said to him, Your Highness, I said, I bet you'd really like to sit on one of these bikes and wear the big coat. And he said, oh, rather. He's quite posh, you know. He was quite posh. He's posher than us, anyway. You would, Jimmy. You'd think he was royalty. Anyway, our old mate Robbo, who we mentioned previously, who got rolled up in the carpet, he'd been out tracking all day on the bike, and his armpits were quite smelly or whatever it is. Rich is the word. So who whips his coat off first? Or Robbo takes the prince's
jacket, sports jacket, wasn't it?
It's a blue hand-stitched Savile Row jacket. So he hands the prince his big coat, which the prince put it on, and Robbo put the prince's coat on. Well, it's a beautiful jacket, and it actually shows it in the picture here, with Robbo wearing the jacket. Well, Ian McFadden told me afterwards that at dinner that evening, the prince said, he sniffed his own armpit and he said, I seem to have picked up a bit of an odour. That was just a very short story on it, but I don't know if you can see this or not, but this famous picture hangs in the Craigna Bar, which we're very proud of. If you can see that, I don't know if you can see that there. The guy in the blue jacket is Robbo, and there he is himself, Prince William, sitting on a Honda. Can you see that, Hailey?
Yeah, just about see it. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Is that better? So that is actually the heir to the throne.
Heir to the throne. An honorary purple helmet.
Yes, honorary helmet.
When we were doing the show, of course, it went out slightly out of kilter, and there's a cannon, isn't there? There's a cannon up by the governor's house, like his old ancient cannon. And one of our boys veered off the track, hit this cannon, and as quick as a flash, there he says, "I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be a loose cannon in our midst." And then we had another show, another part of the show where the bishop was there, wasn't he? Bishop was there, and somebody nearly hit the bishop. And of course, Derry, as quick as a flash, said, "We don't want anybody bashing the bishop."
These moments.
And then, of course, when Prince William had gone in, one of the waiter guys came out with a silver salver, massive big silver salver, and it was full of cans of ale.
It was actually the governor himself.
It was the governor,
imagine, yeah.
I thought it was one of his helpers. And he comes out with this big silver salver, didn't he? It was full of like bitter and lager and all that sort of thing. It was just all handed to us. Yeah. It was great. And then Prince William was chatting away to the boys and just having a real good crack with us, really, wasn't it? A bit of banter and stuff. And about 10 minutes later, a call came from the front door that he had to go in for his tea. Yeah.
Story actually had a bit of mileage because there was an old bishop in Ireland who had been a bit naughty with the kids, and I said in the commentary that the last time this happened, another dirty old cannon got fired. But you've got to moderate it a bit, haven't you, sometimes?
I think here in all this, Derry, that I did a very, very good move getting out of the commentary. I couldn't have gone to Poland or England or wherever you went to. I know you've been fired once when you're talking about cannons. You have been fired. The purple helmets have been sacked from a show. So we want to hear about that one.
Well, it was the only time that it ever happened, actually. And our very good friends, he's died since, actually, Robbie Allen. He was the brother of Vic Allen, who was the Scottish motocross champion. Robbie and his wife, Margaret, they were great promoters. They promoted the Edinburgh show, where we went for many years. We also went down to London courtesy of Robbie, to the Alley Pally. We did a show down there. We went all over the place, courtesy of Robbie Allen. Well, where was I up to, Roy? What did I say?
We were talking about
Oh yes,
Donington Park.
It was a very special event organised by Robbie Allen and Margaret with Malcolm Rathmell and I don't remember who else, but they had the different disciplines. They had enduro riders, road racers, they had trials riders, all competing against each other.
And there was also the final round of the World Stunt Riding Championships as well.
Yeah.
So the stunt riders had to have, they had to have, like, the tarmac had to be nice and clean for them, otherwise they might fall off, you see. So they pleaded with us, do not ride on the grass. Well, please don't ride on the mud and please don't ride on the grass. So, of course, when somebody tells you not to do something, what do? So
when you're a helmet.
The first show we did, of course, we dragged a lot of mud out onto the circuit, and a few of the boys were complaining about these stunt riders. Were complaining that they couldn't do their show because they couldn't do their stunts because there was mud on the track. So we had our yellow card then, didn't we?
Yeah, we were on our first public warning at that time. The cat man, who he's not actually here today, but Gary Corlett, dressed up in his tiger stripes, he decided he would fall off in a big puddle of mud next to the runway where we were performing at Donington Park. You see, so he's covered in mud, and the bike is splashed in mud. There's a few donuts on the track and muddies it all up. The next thing, we're sacked because we were on a warning, Jim. And anyway,
red card came out.
We got sacked. So what did we do? We went to the bar, Redgate's bar. I think it was the only thing we could do. What could we do?
That was the Saturday, so we still had the Sunday as well, where we were still sacked on the Sunday.
We were still sacked.
We had to go back to the Redgate bar again just to fill the day in.
It was a wonderful experience, really. It was called the number one plate, and the number one plate. Whoever won it, all the disciplines. I think
I remember that.
It was a bit like the AMA in America, where they had the number one plate. This was like a number one plate for the stunt riders, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't that where David Knight obviously blew them away on the enduro, and he was no mean slouch on the trials.
That's right.
And then he jumped on an R6 or something and seen them off on the road.
He was good.
And had a kind of an ambition that he said, God, if I'm that good, he said, I don't know it. He said, I might even seriously consider doing the Grand Prix or something like that. I'm pretty certain that's the way it worked out. Yeah.
Well, a brilliant rider, David. He's a fantastic all-rounder. But I remember being in the commentary box with the great Chris Carter. He was there. He was a big name at the time. He commentated on the road racing. I commentated on the land. And it really was a momentous show. It was a wonderful thing, but I don't think the gate receipts quite measured up to what they'd hoped. So I think they were glad they sacked us.
There was another guy there as well, Roy. There was a guy who was attempting to do a world record jump, and honestly, this guy was all set up for this world record attempt to do a proper jump, like I don't know how many feet it was. It was never been done before. And there was loads of people there waiting for him to do this jump. And we're all thinking, he's just having a little dummy run at it now. And it wasn't his dummy run. He was going nowhere near fast enough and fell off the end of the ramp and hurt himself big time, didn't he?
Oof.
Absolutely.
That's not good. So here we go then, boys. I've been, not researching. It's just because you're so legend that these things are known by people who should know.
Oh, dear.
And you made a mess of the railway, but we remember Ray Corkle with affection. And then you travelled on. You travelled on because maybe not doing a full lap of the TT course. You had to go to the Farmers Arms at St. John's with Dougie Christian and Angela.
Dougie, legend.
And this is one place where you did do a bit of damage inside, and nearly set the place on fire by doing a donut in the bar.
Well, what happened there, Roy, was Dougie was always the greatest host of all. You know, he'd always have his people chatting away to them and saying, I want you boys to come in and do a donut. And so we said, I insist you do a donut on the floor. So Pac has the smoke machine, and we said, right, we'll wheel our man in here now. Are you sure you want this donut? You see? So Pac fires the bike up, brings it in, and unbeknown to Dougie, it was the smoke machine. So Pac starts doing this donut in the middle of the floor, hits the button, fills the pub full of diesel smoke. This was a Sunday. This is Mad Sunday. Filled the pub with smoke. Angie was upstairs, thought the place was on fire. So she came down, opened all the windows, and there was smoke billowing out of the windows, even upstairs. So she was shouting at us and telling us to get out and all this. So we're outside. She's on the door, on the steps of the pub, like giving us the old finger, saying, "I've just had me curtains washed, and you boys have smoked them all up."
I thought you were going to say after doing that it was like when your bikes got burned that the place was improved by your contribution to it.
Improvements.
There's a nice, lovely aside story apparently to it, is that, you know, like in that part of the world, that like Foxdale, St. John's, all the pubs were legend places with characters, real characters. And somebody said, and I think it was reported soon afterwards, that there was a fella at the bar having a pint and a smoke, and he was smoking his head off, and he didn't notice any difference.
Well, he didn't. We knew him. We know who he was. And he was eating his lunch, and he sat there at the bar, and the place was covered in smoke, and he was the last one in, and he carried his plate of food outside as if nothing had happened. It was great. But there's another story, Roy. Just up the road from the farmers is, of course, the Tinwald.
This has to be the best ever ride through.
That was one of the best nights we ever had. They asked us to do a bit of a show in the Tinwald car park, which is for all the people that were camping at St. John's, you see. So of course the car park's it's one of the roughest places ever. And they asked us to do a show there. And we hadn't had enough of a show, so we decided to do a bit of a supermoto race later. And what we were doing, we were firing in through one door of the pub, in through the bar, and out through the other door, back around the car park and back in again. So anyway, one of our guys, we were all revving up outside and just ready to start this race. And of course, these bikes, they've got these semi-automatic gearboxes. One of our guys, bless him, there, Chunk, who's no longer with us, sadly, he was sat at the front of the queue, and he's absolutely revving his bike to the stop. And I went round the side and stamped on his gear lever, and the bike shot forward and in through the door and wedged itself in the ladies' toilet door. Absolutely, it's just sitting there spinning its head up. Really?
Could I just make a little bit of an interruption there? I've just had something in my earphone saying that. Well, I think we'd better say it. Like, I mean, the Isle of Man government are saying, visit the Isle of Man. It's a sensible place to be. Can I just confirm that was just absolutely a one-off? And if somebody wants to go and see our Tinwald Hill and wants to go for a nice quiet pint and a meal in the Tinwald Hotel and where the TT, maybe they'd want to go and see where the first ever TT started from in 1907. They won't be confronted by lunatics on motorbikes riding through the pub.
No, it was a complete one-off. It never happened again, did it? Yeah, it was good. Great night. Yeah, and then what we did at the end of the night, because of course we had to get ourselves back to Douglas, and we'd had one or two sherbets by then, so we all got a lift back in a minibus. And one of the bikes, we hauled it up onto the flat roof of the pub, left it there for the night on the top of the pub. All the rest of the bikes were outside. And the next day on the police had this sort of Twitter feed or whatever it was, and it said, be like the purple helmets. If you're going out for a drink, leave your bikes at the pub. And they had a photograph of the bike on top of the pub roof.
Top of the roof.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. Absolutely priceless. Dear me, oh dear.
Of the police there, Roy, the Manx police have been really good over the years. They do deserve a mention, because all the years we've appeared on the promenade, they really found out how to control the crowd. It's no good with a stick. And what they did is joined in. And it was quite something down on that prom outside the Villiers. At Bushies.
Down Bushies, yeah. Well, that's probably
down at Bushies. At the time, the Assistant Chief Constable, Neil Kinraid, with all his braid and everything on the hat. He was on the side of the pyramid with us, and the crowd just loved it, didn't they? They found a way that the crowd would love the police, and it's the best way to police the whole thing. There was never any animosity, never any trouble at all. It's only when there's a confrontation, I think, that you get this. And years before that, at the Rendezvous Cafe, you'll remember this, Roy, there was almost riots because the police tried to confront the lads. And all they wanted to do was have a pint and play about. When we first started, they really didn't know what to make of the purple helmets. They'd never seen it before.
Oh, that's right. 1995 it was. We'd just done the show over at the test centre. I wasn't in it by then. It wasn't my idea of fun. But we just done the show there, and we decided to do a pyramid on the promenade. We're on the promenade heading towards Bushy's tent, and we had this pyramid piled up. And one of the policemen, they pulled the car in front of the pyramid, stopped us. And he's pointing up at the guy on the top. He said, "You get down from the top of that pyramid. I don't want to see you on the top of that again," didn't he?
Keith Moore has told me since, when this happened. Oh, hello.
No.
2 meters.
When this happened, they were riding along, and in those days, still had the little tiny back tires on the Honda. And I think it was Dave Riley's bike in the middle, with bike each side and a pyramid on the top, with all this weight on this little tire. Just before the policeman stopped them, the tire burst, bang. So the whole pyramid teetered, and anyway, they managed to stay up, and they stopped, and the inner tube had come out and all sorts. It was a right mess. And he said, "You get down," he said to them. And then he said, "What do you think you're doing?" And somebody said, "Pyramid."
Pyramid.
There was another occasion on the promenade as well when we just done our lap of the TT course on the Sunday afternoon. And we thought, well, we got a bit of time, we'll just go on the promenade, see what's going on and one thing and another. And of course, everybody's wanting to do a wheelie. Do a wheelie for us. Anyway, Robbo, who Derry mentioned earlier, decided he was going to do this wheelie. So we're just over by Jack's it was. There's a big crowd of people there. And Robbo pulled this wheelie. And as he pulled his wheelie, both the handle grips came off his bike. The bike went careering off down the promenade and hit this Triumph. Went straight into this Triumph, it did. And go on, Derry, do you remember that story?
Indeed. I might have to cut you off here,
Oh,
Jim,
sorry.
because it's 2 minutes to 5, and we're just about to do another little show. I think you need to go and get your coat on, Jim.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think you do. I'll talk them through.
Are we doing it 5, are we? All right.
Yeah.
Same again.
Yeah.
Did you see the last one, Jerry?
You look confused, Hailey.
Did you see the last show, Jerry?
Loving it.
Brand new show. They're all the same old stuff.
Your man up there, Mr.
Jelly in the same order.
Derry, your man, Mr. Jelly, is just shaking his head and smiling and laughing and joking and all that.
A lovely man.
What? Dish the dirt on him.
Where would you start?
Hey, I need to dish the dirt on Derry. I think one of my favourites had to be Derry. We were at Aberdeen or somewhere like that in Scotland, and he saw some voluptuous young ladies sitting at the side of the bar, and Derry sidled up to these young ladies and said, "Which part of Scotland are you ladies from?" And they said, "Wales, Wales, Wales." And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Which part of Scotland are you Wales from?" And I just had to walk off.
That was loosely the proper story, but I'll fill you in on it later.
Should we hand it over to the stunt cam, Derry? What's next on the stunt cam?
See what's next.
Hey, going through to the stunt cam at speeds approaching 100 miles an hour here this afternoon in the Isle of Man, in the wonderful Isle of Man, on Mad Sunday.
Have you still got your neighbours up there, Derry? No, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone.
Fantastic. Jelly, you must be missing these boys, not being with them on Mad Sunday.
Well, there's a few of us in the UK that we chat amongst ourselves, and it really is missed by a lot of people, you know, coming out to the TT, the whole thing, the whole going out on the ferry, having the crack, the party atmosphere, the real racing. There's nothing like it in the world. And the camaraderie that we have with the helmets is just such good fun. And there's a massive mixture of guys of all different walks of life. And we, you know, you meet each other maybe once every 6 months, or maybe even 12 months, or maybe a year or two. And it's just like your best mates, and you know, you crack on straight away, and just the most genuine, funny bunch of blokes. And I think that's where the funny bit comes from. They're just so genuinely funny. Every second we have together is just a riot. Real fun.
Everyone to watch as well, though. Hey, everyone to watch. You just make everyone smile. It's
just reminded me of a little story, but with all of the go, where's the commentator? He's disappeared. As he's gone for another Jeffrey, probably. I get shut of another pint of bushies. So we can hear the C90s revving up in the background, just like us up at the start line at Glen Crutchley Road. And here they are now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them coming into view as they go and do a bit more damage to Derry's lawn up there at Ballakizzick. So fairly straightforward at the moment. Nothing spectacular, and certainly at speeds not approaching anywhere near 100 miles per hour. But doing the crossover and the various bits and pieces which we've got to the best of our ability, from Victoria Avenue in Douglas to Ballakizzick Farm up there in Little Mill and Onken. Nice to see the Manx flag flying in the background. Hope he's got it the right way round. But there's a bit of activity going on there now, and they just doing the crossover as well. So you got to be careful on that one. Especially if you've had a few pints of Bushy's ale, well, then it's not quite what you had in mind. So they all disappear off to the side. Just saying there, was quite emotional this morning. It was a lovely interview with Charlie Williams and Steve Hislop. And we must ask Derry you might be able to ask him, Hailey, when you come back. Well, another honorary helmet was the legend that was Steve Hislop. And I know Derry has up there at Ballakizzick his actual coat that he wore on a few occasions with the boys, and he just lapped it up there, as your man was saying, just the humour and everything, the release from the racing and the danger he put himself in to be right. Oh, there we go. Look, no hands. Oh, here's an old dog coming across the screen now, wagging his tail. So he could be in distinct danger here. This could go horribly long. What could go horribly wrong? Dog gets run over at impromptu display. Oh, there's another one. Dear me. One dog, one man and his dog, one man and two dogs now. So it sounds as though they're having a nice little party up there. It never occurred to me to do it the way that they're doing it. I thought I'll be sitting like a soft thing here in Victoria Avenue waiting for me tea. And the boys are really going to town. The women in the background are a bit noisy, but you can put up with that when you're watching speeds approaching 100 miles per hour now. The 90s are sounding good, I must admit. Another little known fact that we must ask Derry about is that the official Works Honda team stayed up there at Ballakizzick as well. And there'll be some lovely stories that go with that. But they're just doing a bit of a wheelie across now, so you get the full effect of that. I don't know whether the police haven't been involved as yet, so nobody's complained. But it is a bit remote out up in the wilds of Little Mill and Onken there, Ballakizzick. I know the place quite well, and it's a tribute to Derry, actually, with all the kind of setbacks he's had. Again, another thing we'll have to ask him about. A trip round the course on Mad Sunday, but we're just mentioning Derry, you're back with us in the land of the living after all. How's the old dog?
Jimmy Riddle. The dog's fine. The dog's fine. Just thinking, you've touched on a few things there, Roy. Our old mate Charlie Williams. Hello, Charlie, if you're watching. Great old mate.
I doubt it. He'll be watching Love Island or something like that.
Yeah. He may catch up on it, Roy, but we had wonderful times, haven't we, over the years? And what was the other thing you said you'd have to...
Steve Hislop.
Oh, yeah, just before Well, I'll tell you in a minute or two. But I've actually got Hizzy's coat. It still says Hizzy inside it. We had a great time with Hizzy. He rode with us in the early days, and nobody, of course, knew who he was in the show because he had the helmet, the dark glasses, the coat, and one thing and another. And he was a great guy, and he was so fit, physically fit. He wasn't sure whether he liked beer or not. And we've got one of our T-shirts actually says, "Ale, it's no as bad as you think." And Jimmy brought him a pint of Ocals, and he said, "Oh, I don't know, I didn't like the beer, you see." So he had a pint of Ocals, and then famously he said, "Oh, ale, it's not as bad as you think." Well, he was a great guy. He was at that show at Alton Park with us and numerous other shows, but his commitments wouldn't let him appear very often, actually. But I've still got his coat, and just before he died, he came to the farm around the TT time, and he was a helicopter pilot, as you know, sadly, and he asked me, was there anywhere he could land the helicopter here? Well, we've got horse liveries and animals and things, and I said, well, sadly, no, you may have to go to the King Edward Bay or somewhere, up where you made the golf course, Roy,
Yeah, that's right.
Roy was a great golf course builder. He hasn't told you that. And that was the last time I spoke to him. He was killed a few days later with the helicopter crash, and we miss him. We miss Steve Hislop. He's one of the good guys, and well,
one of my lasting moments, Terry. I mean, Steve Hislop. I mean, we had some famous people on the Isle of Man, and one of them was none other than Nigel Mansell. And Nigel Mansell, when he first came to the island, had a regular habit of, I fancy a game of golf somewhere. So he'd put the clubs in a helicopter and then just drop down. And there was a few guys from Rowney Golf Club. We breaking up, are we? There was
We're losing Victoria Avenue.
Are we?
We might have, yeah. Are you back now?
Well, I don't know. I'm just yapping away.
Anyway,
like
just on a lighter note, I've got Nigel Mansell's actor, Yeah.
Have you?
Has he gone, Hailey?
No, he's still here. We've still got him, Derry. Tell us all about Nigel.
Still got him?
We're still here.
Strange you should mention Nigel Mansell.
Oh, we've lost the big man. Roy, can you hear me okay?
Well, I can hear you. I guess you got a bit worried when they said they couldn't hear me. So, well, that's not a bad thing, really.
You're loud and clear.
Yeah, we're okay, are we?
We're having some amazing comments come through, though, Roy.
I think it's all the shenanigans, as Derry would call it, that's going on at Balakizzik.
The interference.
And your man is sat here in the middle. It's just like a screensaver. He's not saying much.
I'm just sitting quiet at the moment.
Jelly, tell us, let us know one of your favorite memories from being in the helmet, because you've obviously traveled all over the place with the guys.
Yeah, it's they're a great bunch of guys. There's too numerous to mention, really. They're just total fun all the time, and the things happen thick and fast. You go out for a drink one night and things just develop so quickly, it's unbelievable. And every second is a complete laugh. They're all naturally funny themselves, but put them all together and they become this eclectic mix of it just fueled by alcohol geniuses that are just so funny. It's incredible. Yeah, and then Derry's dry wit is just incomparable with anybody else. There's only one man that could actually do the commentary, we think. So, but we'll see. But
he's the man. Just remembering about again when he comes back. Here he is now. He's got his technical expert on it. He's back now. So you're talking about admiring women and all that, but when it needs to be done,
love them.
Love them. Yeah, so it takes
a woman. Hailey.
It takes a woman to come in and fiddle about with you and get it working again, so to speak.
Love being fiddled about with, Roy. I've just put my Purple Helmet's fleece on now. You see, we've got corporate stuff, bit old-fashioned, but
Just come back to the show.
oh, look out.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy's
Derry,
just
if I
back.
can I share some of the comments that we've had? Loads of people are loving it.
course
They're
you
loving
can.
seeing you guys jump up on here.
Thanks.
So they're saying they were some cunning stunts that you did there, which also
Oh,
someone
Martin
thinks that you
Crooks.
should have a movie made about your lives. I think there should be a movie made.
This is Eddie's young fella, Martin Crooks. How are
Eddie
you, son?
Crooks, senior Manx Grand Prix winner, 1959.
Well, this is young Martin here.
Yeah.
Hey.
Now you talk. There's a little aside. Derry, you remember Martin Road, Martin's son, father and son combination. Many father and sons in the TT. But have you ever seen the DVD? He'd been into the pits for a stop and was just coming back out. Came down Bray Hill on a 250 Crook Suzuki. Was coming into Quarterbridge and was slowing down. The next thing, the front wheel just fell out of the bike. Just fell out. He went over the top. He went over the top. He was uninjured and all that, but that was the end of his racing career.
Apparently, Roy, he was trying to get into the purple helmets at the time and thought that might help.
Was that his audition, was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, could well have been. You'd have probably got in on that.
Did you see that policeman in the background that was on that shot? I don't think it was a real policeman. I think it was some kind of gypsy thief who was robbing the wheel.
It could have been, yeah. Could have seen the potential in the alloy and then have it off there. But it would be a regular policeman, and that's a lovely little thing that you said before there about your man, Mr. Kinraid, Neil Kinraid. But I don't suppose it would, with it being a family show, you wouldn't like to say what you said to him when you had that major incident. It was serious. The purple helmets were in good form, and they were going around the TT course. And unfortunately, on the climb from Bungalow to Brandywell, was it, Derry?
Yeah, up in Hailwood Rise.
Hailwood Rise, the great man.
It's 18 years ago today, round about this time, actually. To the day. 18 years ago, we arrived at the bungalow, and there'd been a bit of an incident further down the road, and we were all held back. Well, at the time, we never told the police, but Greenlight were filming it for us. The helicopter came along and hovered above us, and then they said, go, we're going to film along towards Hailwood Rise. So what we decided, we would do the nose to tail trick, as close to the guy in front as you possibly could be, with your arm up your back like a speed demon, and with your tongue out, you see, with head down, mouths open, along the mountain road like a snake. And we were just started off, actually. We hadn't got very far, a bit past the footbridge, and yeah, we're just changing up. And Michael Alty was in front of me, lovely man, Michael. His bike had trouble with the selectors, and it dropped a couple of gears with no warning, no brake light, nothing. And I was right against his number plate, and I just had time to swerve. And I remember my shoulder bounced off him and started a tank slapper.
Speed's approaching 100 miles an hour.
Speed's approaching about 40 miles an hour.
It wasn't even that.
It wouldn't be that. And out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a bike coming past, and I presented this guy with an unmissable target, actually. And it was a German. Hello, Fritz, if you're still alive. I don't know. Anyway, he hit me on this VFR Honda. He was flying. He was accelerating on a big bike, hit my right leg, the femur, smashed me up. I had broken ribs, broken femur, numerous other things, collarbone. And apparently, I think I went over his head. I don't know. But it's all on film somewhere at Greenlight. And they have asked me a couple of times, did I want to see it? And as I get older, maybe I would, but I didn't want to see it at the time because I still woke up for weeks, months afterwards, and I could feel this impact like an express train. You can imagine the impact. The only saving grace was that we were both going in the same direction. Well, as I lay on the ground, my old friend Neil Kinraid, the assistant chief constable he was first there, and he knelt down in the mud on the grass verge at the side of the road, and he said, "By Christ, you were lucky there." You don't mind me, I might swear once, but it'll only be the one. And I said, as I looked down, my right leg went on a right angle from my femur, and I said, "Oh, you make that out, Neil." They all started to laugh. Well, I remember being in a lot of pain, but one of the firemen there, I think it was Degsy Bellis, he said, "It's only Derry that could laugh at a time like this." And I wasn't laughing, I was in agony, to be honest with you. But this became a bit of a legend. And somebody said, which was Derry's bike? And they said, well, it was the one with the tax and insurance on it. All these stories grew, you see, from then on. And it was a black day, but it was a hell of a day, actually, because I was almost dead. And anyway, I'm not
serious.
The follow-on that, of course, we didn't know what had happened. Some of us were at the front. We didn't know. We carried on, got to the Cregna bar, and somebody said, "Oh, Derry's had a bit of an accident." The undeterred, we went back, continued the lap, and then he said, "Well, we'll see you boys tonight then," because we were doing a show outside Bushy's. No, it was Bushy's still at the time, yes. This was a 5 minutes argument or the full half hour.
This is the full half hour because Doc Tilbury stood in for me and they had an ambulance there and I was supposed to be in the back of it.
Well, that's right. Well, the thing was, one of our lads, and we said, "Oh, Derry's not doing the commentary tonight." And he said, "Oh, well, why is that then?" I said, "Well, he's broken his leg." "Well, he can get it in plaster. He can come down and do the show from once it's plastered up," not knowing that he'd busted his femur and he was in traction and all sorts of problems. "Oh no, it was just, Dan said, oh, no problem. Derry will be able to come down tonight and do the commentary."
Took a while to recover, son, didn't it? Took a while to recover from that.
It was bad, but 18 years ago, and I think I had a broken leg for nearly 10 years because of bad surgery. And eventually I got it fixed in Liverpool, but only 5 years ago. It was a bit traumatic, but
you lost out on a few holidays for that, didn't you?
I did. I missed a few trips.
All the best trips you missed.
I missed a few trips with the helmets, but I always say death can be fatal, and it wasn't my turn.
What your name wasn't on it, but there was one event that you wanted to be there genuinely, because you've mentioned earlier on about all the government house and how they were well looked after, and Ian McFadden, and I think you're quoted as saying he was probably the best governor, in your opinion, that we'd had.
Up to that point, Roy, up to that point.
Up to that point, yeah. You gotta be careful in the Isle of Man, haven't you? You might go to a presentation tomorrow night, and there's the governor shaking your hands and said, "Don't you think so much of me? You weren't very complimentary on the helmets video yesterday." Well, you wanted to go to the farewell, and you'd arranged allegedly amongst legend again. From your hospital bed, you couldn't be there, but the governor was departing the island, as they do after 5 years, whether they're any good or not, they've got to go. And 5 years were up, and Sir Ian and his good lady were just going to cruise down to the boat, but that didn't happen. So in your own words, and organising it, the boys did you proud with a bit of an outrider display.
Yeah, and a guard of honour. And I did organise it from a bed in Liverpool Hospital, and I believe Sally McFadden was in tears because they were ready to depart at Government House, and the Daimler was there, the chauffeur was there, and just nothing really from the Manx government. They didn't even bother to do a proper farewell for them, and he had been undoubtedly the best governor that we'd ever had in the Isle of Man. Still always, because he opened up Government House to such fun. And after all, Government House belongs to us. It belongs to the Manx people. He opened it up, and he brought the helmets up there, which had never been heard of, and it'll never be heard of again. It was just lunacy on a large scale. And he was an absolute gentleman, and I still keep in touch with him. In fact, he comes to see me if he comes to the Isle of Man. And latterly he has become Sir Ian McFadden, so it's Sir Ian now, which was long overdue because he really did do a lot of good. I'm not really into knighthoods and things, you know. I'm not kinky.
I don't believe that, Derry. I don't believe that for a minute.
We've had such a wonderful time over all these years, and it's opened doors where we'd never have been. It's been wonderful. We've met so many people, royalty and whoever, Jimmy Jones in the street, you know, it's been a wonderful thing.
And promoting the Isle of Man. Where you're from, the Isle of Man. What a wonderful advert. And people are scratching their heads during the day now to try and build up, you know, how can we mention the Isle of Man? We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll throw money at it and stuff like that. And you fellas and Steve Colley and David Knight and many others as well. Where do you go in the world where you don't mention Mark Cavendish is from the Isle of Man, the 31 times Tour de France winner? The Isle of Man is a wonderful place.
Sam Barks,
yeah. I remember signing off a commentary from Ramsey Hairpin once, and people will be thinking you were thick. Like I said, that's it now. That's what the final time for Ramsey Hairpin. All I've got to do now is to get home and vote Samantha. Looking for votes for that, and that was it, Hailey is quite attractive when you see her. Like, quite attractive. I've only been talking to her.
Good filters. Derry, if I could just ask you, here he is, back in the room. Derry, so there was a comment to say that they should make a film on your lives, film on the Purple Helmets. Who would play you, Derry?
Me. Me.
Of course. I was thinking George Clooney, no?
It could be Benny Hill, but he's dead. George Formby. George Formby's gone. I don't know who we'd ask, actually, but Leonardo DiCaprio, but he's American. I don't like Americans. So
I know who. Donald Trump.
No, not him. I don't like him.
Because he's a bit of a clown as well.
You could probably get somebody who be my stunt double. I can't just think of who that could be.
Jimmy Savile.
You've had Norman Wisdom up in that room that in your Balakisik
Norman
as
Wisdom.
well. Yeah.
I just touched on Norman for a second or two because I wrote a book a few years ago about my life, and Norman's picture's actually in it because he came to visit me on a number of occasions, and he hadn't got a clue who I was because he was dementing, and he came with his housekeeper, who was buying a chaise longue from me at the time. It's just a very tentative link, but Norman turned up, and I thought, Christ, that's Norman Wisdom. And it was him. And he did a somersault. He was about 90 at the time. He was incredibly fit physically, but his head had gone. And he sat in my chair over there, and he said, this is a nice house. Whose house is this in? And I said, well, it's my house. He said, oh, no. A couple of minutes later, he said, this is a nice house. Whose house is this in? And I felt like saying, for Christ's sake, Norman. But I didn't, because he was a nice man. He was, and he's in the book, actually. I did do a book, and well, I'm not going to promote it now, but there's one or two left in the lexicon.
No reasonable offer refused.
It's a very good book if you're for insomnia.
Apparently.
We're in it. We're actually in it.
Roy's in there.
Are you, Roy?
I'm in there a couple of times, yeah. We were doing a there again when you're talking about TT and the links and the promenade and everything. We used to watch the old Castrol film shows down by a little wooden hut alongside the Crescent Pavilion. Yeah. And you were working for Kizik's, and that was a cinema as well up in Onken, which showed dodgy movies on a Sunday night. But at the one down the Crescent, down at the Crescent there, we were actually working down there for quite a period of time, wasn't it? I know we were down there. I know we were down there the day Mike Aylward got lost his life in a road accident and his daughter. But it was a waxworks before we started, and it wasn't it wasn't unknown to come into work one morning to go to switch the lights on, and Hitler or Himmler would be standing there looking at you. The boys were playing a few tricks on us, but the Castro film shows.
It was very funny, Roy, because the waxworks had been in Wellington Street, had the Madame Tussauds.
Madame Tussauds, yeah.
Yeah, and they got tours Isle of Man with a coach to move all the waxworks dummies over to the Crescent. And they had them sat in the coach, and they were traveling along with Hitler was looking out the window, and Himmler was there, like you say. They'd be next to the Queen. And the
Queen was there, yeah. Your Queen, your bloody Queen was there. Yeah.
All had a seat on the coach. It was very, very funny at the time. Oh, God. You've rung a few memories now, Roy.
No, you fellas, and it's lovely to be able to talk to you in a situation like this, Derry, because we haven't got any honours through the years for what we've done for various things and what have you, but certainly we can both walk down Strand Street and not worried about who's coming the other way. That's one thing about it, isn't it?
No, just get over. You'll have me off. That's what they used to say. Get over. You'll have me off. I was just going to touch. Sorry, Roy. Go on.
Who were the only two fellas in the Isle of Man who could go through No Limit word for word?
Well,
Jeff Cannell and myself.
Yes, you could. You could.
Simple reason. You'll have me over. Get off. If you do that again, I'll smash your face for you.
Ride again for 50.
Wouldn't ride again for
50 quid. Oh, that's the one they always remember, isn't it? Yeah, but there's some beauties, like, isn't it? We're just talking about different things as well. Where they did the filming for the old boarding house was down by the Empress. The Crescent, next to the Empress.
Yeah.
Where Sprocket and Rainbow did the deal on the bikes and all that. And then remember when he first booked in, and they went up to the reception desk, and George was bent down to sign the register, and this parrot bit him on the nose, and then the next thing, a Manx cat went past, and when the parrot bit George on the nose, the landlady said, "Oh, you're lucky, he only bites the elite." And then the Manx cat without the tail went past, and George said, "Looks like he's bitten his elite clean off." Referring to the tail. Yeah. And I'm a TT rider. I'm a TT rider. Yeah, I'm a TT rider. But keep it under your hat. Not likely. That's where I put it the last time.
Yes.
Talking about his wallet.
Just on the subject.
We digress.
Just on the subject there of No Limit.
Oh, dear, we got another show to do, Derry.
I think there's another show coming on.
Is there another show, Q, is there?
I think so.
At 10 to...
Don't get your coat.
Sharing it at 10 to, are we? Looking forward to it.
What time is it now?
It's 27 minutes.
You've got 3 minutes, James. Go and get your coat on.
It's a big shout out to my mates down in Dorset there, Paul and Glenn Axon. An interesting fact about Paul Axon, he's got 5 testicles. And when asked how his underpants fit, like a glove.
Can I come on? I'm not doing anything tonight.
We're scraping the barrel now.
Derry, I've got a couple of questions for you. Can I fire them at you quickly? We've got a question about the book. What's the title of the book? A couple of people have asked.
The book is called Do You Know Derry Kissack? And underneath, oh, you got one here. It's Do You Know Derry Kissack? And underneath it says, no, but I know a fella who does. Because it goes back so far. Yeah, look at that now, Roy. I wrote this book some years ago. In fact, I think it's about 10 years ago. When I got smashed up, I had nothing to do. And the postman said to me one day, why don't you try and write a book? You always make us laugh. So I tried, and it's never that easy to actually write the book. But, well, for whatever it is, it's done very well. And a lot of people have had it, and they've said that they enjoyed it. Whether they lied or not, I don't know. But,
no.
But
they will not lie.
It is what it is, and there's a few in the lexicon, I think, but that's how it is. Yeah, this is just lovely, to be able to talk to you again. I don't see Roy very much, It's amazing. It's a very small island, but We don't often cross
Giggsy,
paths.
welcome.
Is Jigsy on?
We've got another.
Now, there's when this race is over, we've got a wonderful story, Jigsy and I. Hey, how are things in Orkney? How are things in Orkney, Jigsy?
Fantastic, Derek. Just missing you.
Missing you, boy. And Julia and the girls and and Brian. It's Jigsy moved up to Orkney because his wife Julia is from Orkney, and Jigsy, oh jeez, he brews his own beer. He was a Huddersfield fireman and very much part of the helmets in the early days. It was him that brought the coat on. him that brought the coat. Yeah, top boy. But we'll catch up with you in a minute. I think I'm going to do a bit of a show here now. I can feel a show coming on.
Oh no!
You're going to commentate on this one, Derry, are you?
No, you'll have to do it, Roy, because you are very good at it. You're
not in my contract. It's not in my contract. Can you give Dot Tilbury a ring? Give Dot a ring. She'll pop in and. How are you doing on the pelvis? You're doing the show now. You get it.
The other day to see me, and this is just magic. I'm glad they've connected up with you, Jigsy, because we'll tell them a story about Ron Berry at the grandstand, who was live on radio one day.
Michael,
that was a classic. It was a live radio, but
well, I'll not forget that one. We'll get that one out of you, the pair of you.
You will indeed.
Yeah, that would be it.
And a fella called Mike.
Michael.
Michael.
Well, how's the preparation going for this big final display? What's the lineup? What they're going to do?
Preparation H. It was. Don't make an ass of yourself.
The trouble is, there's loads of jokes that are coming up with what people are saying, but you're not quite sure where you're positioned as to whether you can actually tell them. I've got a lovely story about the current governor, but I don't know whether we'd be able to kind of get that. It is Manx Radio as well, associated.
Well, Dee's give me the thumbs up there. I think the show is about ready, but we'll answer some of the questions after, Hailey, because I really appreciate people phoning in and messaging. So over to you.
Brilliant. So I guess this is where our big show's coming in, hey, Roy?
Yeah, could well be. Stunt cam.
Yes, stunt cam genius.
The grass looks familiar. There's nothing changed. Nothing changed in the grass, but
the dog's still alive.
The dog is still alive. Yeah, he's disappeared now. So it's kind of nose to tail, which will bring back a few memories for Derry, I'm sure, of going up Aylward Rise. They seem to be circulating around a bit of a tree, which is located there in the middle. Sounding good. The bikes are good. The single-cylinder 90s. Certainly with the way the boys have tuned them up and got a bit of megaphone-itis on them on the back and noise. And not standard forks on the front. You'll notice they're when you used to go out, when you wanted a part for a motorbike, the only one place in the Isle of Man you had to go for it if you couldn't find it anywhere else was out to Kiswick's Yard. And certainly, if it didn't, the story used to circulate. If you couldn't find it at Kiswick's Yard, they never made it. But they had Serianis on the front there just to give them a bit more handling. They're not standard C90 issue, the one that Dougie Davidson, the well-known saxophonist on the Isle of Man, and you've got to be careful how you say that. The one that he had, the Honda, the first one I ever saw of a 90. I couldn't understand, being brought up on Tiger Cubs and trials bikes, that you actually change gear to move forward. But on a Honda 90, you didn't. You just pressed the pedal, and then the sequential, kind of oil took over, and you didn't have to do anything. You just press the pedal, and through the box you went without any clutch or anything like that. But there seems something big about to happen here now. The boys are lined up. Oh, it's the arms off, and look, no hands again as they go through, except for the fella at the end who seems to be a bit chicken and didn't quite go into it. few things there in the background. Again, typical Kiswick's yard. There'll be bits and pieces lying about, and all to be a project for later on. As we say, the Works Honda team stayed up there at Ballakissack, and they stayed in a building which used to be the old fire station when the boys were coming over the TT in 1950s and 60s. The fire station in Lord Street transported up there to Ballakissack. It will come in useful sometime, seemed to be the attitude of that equip out there. So the boys are just lining up in the middle now. There's somebody standing up in the centre, and something's kind of been misplaced there at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour. But certainly the boys going across the screen, and yeah, some lovely comments coming in, and it's very much appreciated as well. It's dead easy to do this type of thing because you're enjoying it as much as I hope you are out there enjoying it as well. And certainly the banter is first class. And when you've known somebody all your life, well, then it's not too difficult to find something to talk to. As the dog makes another appearance. He's camera struck. So I don't know. I've given it a bit of, I don't know who you would get to play Derry if you made a film about the purple helmets. But oh yeah, we got somebody getting dragged. Is the bike getting dragged as well? No, there's members getting dragged along the ground here. Members on, well, they used to do the wheelie bin race. And again, you've got, somebody mentioned the other night when we made comment about the wheelie bin race, and he said, well, you have got to study what's on them. And my cousin was Jeff Cannell. And certainly one of the wheelie bins in the early stages is the man with the bare ass goes through again. So that's just exactly what you need. Looks as though he's been sunbathing somewhere in lockdown, but it's not an all-over town, I can assure you, even from Victoria Avenue via the cam through to there. But there's something big happening. They're chasing him now. The boys are chasing the man with the bare backside across the screen, which is all good value. I don't know where his changing point is. No sign of the dog. He's disappeared. He's cleared off somewhere. But they are now. I think this is the end of the show. We're fast approaching the 2-hour mark, so that will be it. So it's the traditional, or will be the traditional helmets finale, as first mentioned and seen down there at that test centre. Who would have thought all those years ago, as they do their little kind of resume to the crowd with the hand-on helmet. That is the final show that we've got up here at Ballakissack from the purple helmets, and it's applause all round from here in Victoria Avenue to those up there who are slowly getting drunk in the lounge, and even to the Orkneys. And there's another. Oh, there he is. He's back. He's back.
We're back here now. I'm very pleased to see Andrew Jiggle here from his lovely house in the Orkneys. And I was going to tell them, Andrew, about the day I think I was riding alongside you. We came back from the railway pub at lunchtime on Mad Sunday, and we rode up to the grandstand, and there was a live show going on with Manx Radio, and the guy called Ron Berry. He's still around, Ron. Okay, son. He was on the microphone, and when we pulled up, we stopped, and he said, "Oh, he's a couple of the purple helmets here. Now, what are your names?" And I'll hand over to Jigsy, because what did he say to you? He said, "Now, what's your name?"
I said, "Well, I told him my name. It's Michael Oxbig, but everybody calls me Mike." So I said, "Well, can I ask you a few questions afterwards? When you have this music being played, I'll come and ask you." So of course the music stopped, and he came over with the microphone, and here I have one of the purple helmets, Mike Oxbig.
He realised what he'd said, and he tried to shut the radio off, but it was too late, wasn't it? He said, "Here we are now. I'm going to talk Mike Oxbig." It was a magical moment. It really was a magical moment.
Wasn't for Ron Berry.
I'm going to share some comments with you, if that's all right, and get some of these questions from the fans, because everybody is absolutely loving it. So we've got fantastic entertainment. Everybody's interested in your book, though. I think you're going to have sold a few copies of that, Derry.
Oh God.
So suggestions then, who would play you, Derry? It's going to be Tom Hardy or Anthony Hopkins. They've been suggested.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. And then we have, you're all absolutely brilliant. Roy, it's a great to put a face to the voice. Thank you everyone for interacting. Please don't forget to send your we've just got 15, 20 minutes left, so you've got opportunity to send your questions in for the guys. We got great show, brilliant show. So Derry, you've been a part of so many amazing show with these guys. How many in total do you think that you've actually done with the purple helmets? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I mean, some years we were so busy. I think we went away 7 times to the UK one year. We're just very, very busy, but we were always wary not to appear too much at home, because when they've seen too much of you, it's overexposure, obviously, and we like to just keep them, treat them mean, keep them keen, you know how it is. And I think they appreciate us more, because people do like to see the old purple helmet. The only thing is, we're all getting a bit older, and it's 25 years of it, and the ground is just as hard as it was 25 years ago when you fall off. And I'm just touched by people's adoration, actually, and I am very grateful. I mean, this fan thing, it's the fans who make us what we are, and thank you everybody, for your lovely comments. Anybody else there, Hailey? I love
There's loads. We've got we've got lots of love. It's almost as good as being at Onken Stadium for the big one.
Onken Stadium was a legend. It really was a legend, and it went on for so long. It was fantastic, really, and that's where I realized a personal ambition with bringing the white helmets, because right from day one when we started, the white helmets were mentioned, and we weren't exactly the white helmets, but it was always my ambition to bring the white helmets with the purple helmets, and we almost managed it in 1991 after the Gulf War, well, just before the Gulf War, because they were going to bring a transport aircraft over from Dorset with all the white helmets to appear with us, because the white helmets, unbeknown to us, had been tracking our progress, and we made such great friends with a lot of them. It didn't happen because the Gulf War happened and the transport plane was needed, and we weren't considered important enough at that time. But I think it was the first time we brought them here. I was over the moon to think that the wonderful white helmets from 1929 were going to appear with ragtag and bobtail, if you like, our lads. And we had a wonderful night with them on the promenade. And the captain that they brought was Captain Jennifer Hollins. She was a lady captain. And there was Ed Lewis, the sergeant, the corporal. Oh, I can't remember the sergeant's name now, but each time they came, a different squad would come along. But there was still a nucleus of the best riders. They kept them along as instructors. But, in total, I brought them to the Isle of Man 5 times. And I'm very proud of that we brought this wonderful stunt team, and they were wonderful. Make no doubt about it. Make no bones about it. They were riding these hugely heavy 750 Triumphs on wet grass at Onken Stadium, and a couple of times they fell off. Some of the young kids didn't really understand it. They said, "Well, that fella fell off, and they're not very good, and they weren't as funny as you." But they weren't supposed to be funny. They weren't supposed to be. And we made great friends with a lot of them. There was one guy in particular, Mal, who was with them right through And even they thought so much of him. They presented him with his triumph when they disbanded. And the last night that we did at Donkin Stadium was really quite emotional because they chose themselves that their very last show was to be with us. Now that you can't get a greater honour than that. It was the full army team with the full turnout, the clean boots, the whole thing. And they appeared at Donkin Stadium. And some of those lads were in tears at the end of that night. And our lads had a big photograph with them. It was a momentous occasion, really, and it could never happen again. And it was just something very special in the time that we've done the helmets, really. I think all the lads agree with me. It was very special. I mean, we had little Gary Flowers who did the 360-degree spin on a Honda 90, which is the backflip. Some of the things we've done over the years, if we look back, we think, well, did that happen? Because little Gary, plucky little guy, the Royal Corgi, we call him, he, more other thing, he took his bike and his coat and he went away and he learned with the Bulldog fellas how to do the backflip. It's a very dangerous maneuver. People have broken their necks, people have died from it. And to do a full 360 loop on a bike with big travel suspension is very good. But to do it on a Honda 90, there's very little movement in the suspension. From a thing made up out of bits and pieces, he went there. And to his credit, he said he would do the backflip at Donkin Stadium. And on that particular night, the Bulldog fellas wouldn't do it because it was drizzling. It was a wet night and they thought it was too dangerous. Well, little Gary, he said, I've been trained how to do it. I'm going to do it. And honestly, that you could have heard a pin drop. He set off on a little Honda, probably misfiring a bit, and nobody thought he was going quick enough. The next thing, he's up in the air, upside down. And it could have gone horribly wrong. He could have dropped out of the sky. But when he landed, he completely missed the landing pad. And I think he hurt his feet. But that was all that happened. And everybody was absolutely amazed that this had happened on a Honda 90. And he said he would never do it again because his wife was really upset with him. She thought he was going to die. And he hasn't died. He hasn't.
Still alive and kicking. We've had some comments about.
I've got a question for Hailey.
Yeah, go for it.
Quick one.
How long is it since you've lived in the Isle of Man?
I'm from the Isle of Man.
Yeah, but how long is it since you've? Oh, all right. So have you been to the horses' home at Santon?
Yes.
And do you know what? Do you know what the horses have every day?
Hey.
No, half an hour. Half an hour for lunch.
And there's more. And there's more.
You can ask me another question. You can ask me another question if you like.
I will.
Hey, Jerry, you just thought of another appropriate name when you went up to do that interview at the grandstand, didn't it? Remember a school teacher? If you wanted to put a name to your other man's name, do you ever get taught by Jerry O'Toole?
Oh yeah,
Jerry O'Toole, grand man with a lot of kids.
Was yeah.
I think he lived up to his name.
Taught a lot though. He did all right up at there, going through the sequence, didn't you? Going through the.
He was a good man. He's a good man. I won't get in too deep here, Roy, if you don't mind. We've got a small but select gathering here today, and I think from all of us, we'd love to thank Hailey and the gang for putting this on, because Mad Sunday was going to be a bit of a nothing really, and well, this has made it very happy for us all, and thank you, Hailey. And I think you're very pretty.
He never loses it, does he? It's our pleasure to have you on here. You've made so many people happy. Like the comments, Derry. Everyone's laughing. They don't want it to end. Very special to be watching this. Also, Leanne Corlett's saying, I think we should set up a female version of the purple helmets called the Pink Flappers.
Well, it was actually suggested a number of years ago by some of the girls, and we thought, well, what stunts could they do? And then we thought, well, they could ride round on pink Hondas with pink bodysuits on, flaps open, full throttle. They would ride past something like a shop window, and I would say, "Oh, will they get past the shop window?" Well, they didn't. They couldn't go past the shop window. So that's what happened to the pink flaps. It didn't actually take place, but we had candidates queuing up for auditions.
I bet you did.
Yeah,
I bet you did.
It's a very difficult thing. Were you there?
No.
Did I audition you? You must have been very young at the time. Because,
not yet.
I mean, oh, this really is very good fun, and maybe we can do it again sometime, Hailey, over the steak or something like that.
And a pint of bushies, I'll be there.
Bushy Ocals, you know. There's a few of the boys around me here, and you can probably hear the laughter, you know. But if we could run it all again, we would, you know.
Can I ask you what's next for the purple helmets then? So obviously there's big changes.
The next, hopefully if things start to slacken off a bit, we are hoping to do a show up in Ramsey for the lifeboat, the Ramsey lifeboat. We're hoping that if things are relaxed enough, we could be up there sometime in July, towards the end of July. But we're just holding fire at the moment. It'll probably be our only show of the year, when you look at it, because there's nothing going on beyond Manx Grand Prix, etc. So we were hoping, fingers crossed, that that the government will slacken things off for us, and we'll do our one and only show in Ramsey Square sometime in July. So that's it, really. Yeah,
we love Ramsey. You know, the lifeboat day is fantastic, and Ali will be there with a microphone that doesn't work. There's a very poor sound system.
It was much better when it landed in the harbour, though. Do you remember?
Yeah, but the pubs are very good.
They're great.
And we'd like to thank the Britannia and the Traff and the Commie. We have a wonderful time in Ramsey.
Just one thing there. I played golf when I left school and took it up, and then had the privilege.
Is this when you were the champion, Roy?
No, that's that long ago. You've forgotten about that. But we came involved in the Island Games, where it was held on the island, and I think 2001. And you can just imagine all cultures, mixed cultures coming from various places, where they had like seals as companions and stuff like that, all accumulating on the Isle of Man for the Island Games. And it was a very successful event. Awesome. The Isle of Man did well at it, and certainly that. And they all assembled outside the Villa Marina.
They did.
And there was a certain display team who came along and entertained them for that. And in Island Games terms, you became legends overnight in their eyes as well. They could not believe it. They might have been expecting a white helmet performance, and then these bunch of hooligans came along with dark glasses on and were falling all over the place, and they just could not believe it. We had great camaraderie with the golf teams.
It was a great night, Roy. It was a great night. And it was the closing ceremony for the Island Games. And there were some people there from the Faroe Islands. And they didn't understand it. Do you remember? And they said, why are these people falling from their bikes? I think it was
Germans.
Were they?
Germans.
You might have said, why are these lads falling off? But that wasn't. He said, why are these people falling from their motorbikes, you see? And they was Dr. Tilbury there. He said to them, they're supposed to fall off, you fool, you know. And, we can say a few hellos now, can we, Hayley?
Of course you can. Go for it.
Well, I'm missing the Yorkshire lads this weekend because they've all been here for the TT. And there's Gizmo and the boys up in Beedale, and Aki and the lads in North Yorkshire there, you know, in Leyburn, and there's loads of people, and we're missing Jigsy there. He's thinking a pint of his own beer. And a lot of our own local lads that haven't come along today, you know, for various reasons, but they are the heart of the Purple Helmets. They're the spice of the earth. And we love what we do. We love what we do, don't we, Jimmy? It's if we didn't, we wouldn't do it.
Well, everyone's loving you. Superb show. They're saying thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Martin Crooks as well. He says, this has been great fun, everyone. Must meet up again sometime. He's off for a lap of the island. He said, we'll have to watch out for 76 MGP winner Leslie Trotter, as he likes to check my passport. Enjoy the rest of your non-TT, folks.
Well, Martin Crooks, you know, he was knocking a slice of my niece one time.
Is that a technical expression, Derry?
Been in the tail on her.
Now listen, Martin. Oh, thank you so much, Roy. Thank you so much for all this. It's great to catch up with you again, boy. It really is. We go back so far. There's so many memories, and Hayley, you're so lovely.
I'll see you for a steak and a pint of bushies soon, Derry.
We just like to say it how it is. I don't know if you can. If I just turn this round a little bit here, if you can see some of our guys, here they are. Here, look at this. There's the great Waldo, who flies through the air with the greatest of ease. We've got Finbar Finnegan, who is naked most of the time.
Finnegan was there. I think that's a good story.
Well, it's acceptable.
Oh, it's acceptable.
It is acceptable.
Yes, we're in the Northwest 200, aren't we?
How much time have we got, Hayley?
We've got 1 more minute left with you guys, and then we're going to have to say goodbyes. Just 1 more minute.
Last story of the day, the Northwest 200 at Portrush. We were heading up there, and Stephen Finnegan, he said, he's from Belfast, you see. He said, will you give my mum a mention? I said, yes, what's her name? And he said, Mrs. Finnegan. I said, no. I said, what's her name? She said, oh, Yvonne Finnegan. And I said, where does she live? And she said, 177 Great Northern Street, Belfast. I said, Great Northern Street? I said, is that next to the Harland and Wolff shipyard where the great ship, the Titanic, was built? He said, hey, how did you know that? Well, I said, never mind that. When the show came on, we were all pretty well done to at the time, and we were up on the stage there in Portrush, and I said, is there a Mrs. Finnegan in the crowd? And there was no answer. There was all these people looking at each other, and there was no answer. I said, Mrs. Finnegan, here's your son now, the naked pianist. So I got sick of trying to find her. So I said, if there is a Mrs. Finnegan in the crowd, I said, Yvonne Finnegan from 177 Great Northern Street, Belfast. This is your son, Stephen. He's naked, you see. So Mrs. Finnegan's only regret was that, am I allowed to say that? Mrs. Finnegan's only regret was that she lived in Great Northern Street next door to Harland and Wolff, you see. So, did I mention that? So, she said, her only regret was that more men went down on the Titanic than ever went down on Mrs. Finnegan. Well, after the show, I got this tap on the shoulder, and this voice said to me, a nice voice, and she said, you're a dirty wee man, you. And I turned around, I said, why is that then? And she said, I'm Yvonne Finnegan. I said, well, is it true? She said, I don't know what you mean. And that was the lovely innocence of Yvonne Finnegan. And I love you, Yvonne, to this day.
Thank you, Derry. Thank you to all of your purple helmets.
Big hugs.
Happy Mad Sunday to you.
Happiness to everybody, and to Jigsy and Orkney, and to Jelly, who wobbled on and wobbled off again, and to you, I'm sure you'd wobble nicely, and to Roy, my old friend, and to all our fans, most of all to our fans, we love you people.
Thank you, guys.
I hope we can keep going for a few more years.
You will be. We're here to support you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Roy, that was quite special, wasn't it? What an amazing couple of hours.
Yeah, well, you'd expected it, and it happened. And that's lovely. It's fantastic, really. Yeah, good, clean fun. They've been legends. They are legends. I think I'll get my coat on now and go up and join them and have a bit of fun. But it wouldn't be right to walk in on a party like that, because you'd be so out of place. But yeah, it's been lovely to be part of it, and contribution. Oh, there he is now. He's back again. Can't get shut of him now. Pushing.
Don't forget, don't forget, drink as much as you can.
Hydrate. Thank you, Roy. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you join us as well today. It's been one incredible couple of hours. Very nostalgic.
Good stuff. I think we're
what
on
a great way
tomorrow,
to celebrate. Yeah, we are. We're back in tomorrow morning, 9:30. You're joining me, right? TT
yeah,
with
we'll
Roy?
have a bit of we'll be a bit more serious tomorrow, maybe, will we?
Yeah. Maybe.
Although,
who knows?
if you didn't have laughter in your life, you'd have nothing, would you?
Exactly. So I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning, Roy.
Yep.
Happy Mad Sunday to you.
All the best now. Back to.
Take care. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. What an insane couple of hours. That has been our Mad Sunday that we wanted to bring to you. And what is Mad Sunday without the purple helmets? Thanks for joining us. If you're watching it back, if you know anyone that would love it and enjoy it, please share it around. And yeah, happy Mad Sunday to every single one of you.